Assalamualaikum. Alifa. Halo Alifa. Halo Alifa, siap ya? Ready for Alifa? Halo. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, dear attendees.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to International Conference of Psychology, ICOPSI 2021, with the theme The Future of Well-Being in this Subject Era, Integration Between Research and Practice on September 11, 2021. My name is Heti Rahmawati, and I will be moderating this live parallel session on room 3, and I will help Alifa Della Trinidad as an operator. Hello, Alifa.
Hello, Miss.
Yep. Okay, yeah. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Miss.
Let's introduce each presenter of this presentation. Our sixth presenter here now. Okay. All the presenters are here now. There are Mr. Muhammad Khairul Anam, Miss Anissa Redmega, Miss Selawati, Miss Sahida, Mr. Muhammad Hamami, and Miss Ika Diastuti. All of you be here. All of you be here, yeah? Okay. We really appreciate all audiences to be here, and this parallel session will run from 1 p.m. to half past 2 today. And before I begin, I have parallel session procedure. All presenters should prepare only 11 to 10 slides on the PPT slide. Each presenter only have 7 minutes to present, and followed by 3 minutes for question and answer session. So each presenter today will have a total 10 minutes for their presentation. As one of our presenters completed their presentation before their 10 minutes is up, there may be time for a question from attendees. To ask questions, audience should click a raise hand button and ask question directly to the speaker after being given permission by moderator, or write your questions on chat menu. And however, we will hold most questions from the chat menu until the end of the session, and I will then read questions out loud for the presenter to answer as time permits. During presentation, if there are any troubles according to that signal of internet, moderator should move on to the next presenter and let the previous presenter to continue their presentation after all participants have finished. All your PowerPoint being backed up by the classroom host, Alifa, to help presenter if there are any troubles or internet failure. The process is repeated until all presenters present their research findings and moderator closes a parallel session assigned of the end of a parallel session. Maybe any question for the procedure? Okay, enjoy your session. And now let's please welcome for our first presenter, Muhammad Khairul Anam, Mr. Anam, and Mr. Immanuel Hitipiu. Please, Mr. Anam, let's present your paper. Please.
Okay, I'm here, Miss Hattie. So I'm already
Yeah.
presenting my paper
Yes.
without my
The time
second.
is yours. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I need the help of the operator for the presentation because my computer is.
Okay, Alifa, may help Mr. Anam to present the share screen. You have 7 minutes to present your slides and 3 minutes for question and answer, Mr. Anam.
Thank you, Miss Hattie. Oh, maybe the operator can open my presentation so that I can start my.
You have Mr. Anam to share his screen. Would you please, Alifa?
It's finished to look in screen, Miss.
Not available. PPT slides from Mr. Anam. Any trouble about your laptop? Okay.
Okay, now it's there.
Clear. Yes. Thank you, Alifa.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. So the Honorable the moderator, Miss Hattie, and the Honorable all the speaker for this session. Let me introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Khairul Anam. So here I'm presenting my paper with the title The Correlation Between Loneliness and Academic Procrastination on Psychology Students Who Are Working on a Thesis at State University of Malang. Please, next, operator. Okay, the research background is why is that important to discuss about the topic? In our education academic setting right now, is still going on a problem, and it's academic procrastination, and it's happening across the world, across the country, and Indonesia is one of the country that affected by this academic procrastination. As you can see, there are lots of research regarding this academic procrastination, which says that this academic procrastination is still going on in Indonesia. And next, okay. The prevalence of this academic procrastination, I have shown that more than 70% of college students have regularly procrastinate. And this is a big number because if this problem is not solved, then it will be a problem in our academic settings, in our education, I mean. And the next is why I show this guidance of thesis writing is because this phenomena is appear in our faculty, the Faculty of Psychology Education at the State University of Malang. As you can see in my initial observation, that per May 31st, 2021, less than 10 to had their thesis defense. This could be a sign that the college student, the psychology students at our university are postponing academic tasks, or especially this thesis writing. And one of the causes of this academic procrastination have shown can be seen as the loneliness. The initial observation says that 9 psychology students says that they feel loneliness and academic procrastination at the same time. Please, next, moderator. So yeah, so coming to the loneliness, actually now we are still having this issue, the COVID-19 pandemic, and this loneliness happens across the country, across the world, across the age, across the gender, and the cultural differences in loneliness. And next, psychologists say that psychologists worry that the coronavirus pandemic is triggering a type of loneliness it called loneliness epidemic, and it hardest hits our older teens and young adults, which means if we see in our faculty, it should be our students, our psychology students. Okay, please, next, moderator. So the main objective of this research is to explain the level of loneliness and academic procrastination, and to explain the correlation between two variables on subjects, and that is psychology students who are working at thesis at the State University of Malang. Next. Okay, next. So we have two variables, loneliness and academic procrastination. Please, next. So on the definition of academic procrastination, I used the McCloskey in 2011, which say a form of procrastination tendency and refers to when students voluntarily delay the completion of academic related tasks, such as working on assignments and studying. And the aspect, we have 6 aspects, and McCloskey also invented a scale to 25-item academic procrastination scale. In the loneliness, we use the definition by de Jong Geerfield in the year 1989, which say the loneliness is situations experienced by an individual who has a certain unpleasant or inappropriate relationship quality. And the aspect, we have 2 aspects for the loneliness: social loneliness and emotional loneliness. And there is a loneliness scale too. And the next. So the research methodology, this research is a correlational quantitative, which the populations is all psychology students in the year 2017 who are working on the thesis, amounted 127 students, and the sample is 55 respondents. And we use convenience sampling technique for this research. And the data collection, we use questionnaire with Likert scale 1 to 5 level. And then next, and here's the data analysis. Next. Okay, we use scale modification for the scale for this paper. So yeah, next. Okay, we come to the result in discussion. So the result is, as we can see from the statistic descriptive, that the loneliness and the academic procrastination between these two variables is in moderate level. Okay, next. And the two data are normally distributed, and the data has a significant linearity. And by using Pearson's R correlations, we found that the R correlation is 0.319, which is significant. So there's a correlation between two variables, and the strength is moderate and positive in the direction. So if the level of loneliness is high, the level of academic procrastination is going to be high, and it also works oppositely. Okay, next. So the hypothesis, the alternative hypothesis is accepted, and the null hypothesis is rejected. So there is a relationship between these two variables on the subject. Okay, next. Oh, so the conclusion, because we have 3 main objectives earlier in the discussion. So answering the objectives, first, the level of loneliness tends to be moderate, and the level of academic procrastination tends to be moderate as well. And there is a correlation between these two variables on the subjects. Okay. The level of loneliness tends to be moderate is because we have something, this COVID-19 issue regarding the social aspect, that we believe that one of the reason why the level of loneliness tends to be moderate is because the lack of social quality, and it affects these two variables. And by then, there is a correlation between these two variables, strengthen the previous studies about this correlation of these two variables. So that's it. Maybe that's all from me. Thank you so much for your attention. Maybe if I have reached my limited time, I'm so sorry for the addition time. So thank you for your attention, all the speakers and the other honorable moderator. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's it. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Anna. And the paper title, the correlation between loneliness and academic procrastination. Okay. This is an excellent presentation, and if you have questions for Mr. Anna, please, audience, ask the question directly now. Monggo, silakan. Okay. Okay. Not yet, yeah? Okay, for your info, if you have additional questions for presenters ongoing, you can ask them in the chat feature in the conference platform or Zoom for this event, and presenters may answer you, or you can connect with the presenter one-on-one through message chat. Okay, baiklah. Moving along to the next presenter, please welcome Ms. Anissa Mega Radiani, Gracia Hana Indra, and Inelda Ika Dian Orisa as a team, who will be speaking to us on topic about psychological inflexibility, moderate perceived stress, and loneliness on depression among Indonesian college students. Please, Ms. Radiani, no time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time, Miss. Probably I will be the one who share screen my own presentation. Is it okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Wait. All right. Okay, hello and good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Anissa. Currently, I'm studying my master degree in clinical psychology at University of Indonesia. First of all, I would like to give my gratitude to ICOPC for giving me the opportunity to present my paper called Psychological Inflexibility, Moderate Stress and Loneliness on Depression among Indonesian college students during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so why did I study this research? So as we know, COVID-19 pandemic has brought not only the risk of death from virus infection, but also increased the risk of mental health problems. Previous studies shows that the most affected group are young people, particularly college students. A similar pattern was identified in Indonesian youth, where the implementation of physical distancing and remote learning activities had elevated their academic struggle, stress, and loneliness, just like what we have heard before this, yeah? And then with this problem, there's an increased prevalence of depression observed, which may harm their academic functioning and overall quality of life. There are many risk factors for depression. However, in pandemic, there are certain potential risk factors which likely emerge throughout the pandemic, which are perceived stress and loneliness. Therefore, it is crucial to identify specific constructs that may hinder students from handling those risk factors effectively. One construct that may play a critical role in aggravating non-adaptive behavior during difficult circumstances is psychological inflexibility, or shortened PI. Moderation analysis is needed to see whether PI could alter the association between perceived stress and loneliness towards depression. That's why present study is to explore how psychological inflexibility moderates the association between perceived stress as IV1 and loneliness as IV2 on depression in the context of college students during the COVID-19 pandemic. So first of all, I would like to explain about the variables that I choose in this research. It is a depression, a type of mood disorder characterized by persistent sadness, lack of interest or pleasure in previously rewarding or enjoyable activities, and may affect a person's ability to function and live a rewarding life. And the second variable is psychological inflexibility, which is defined as the rigid dominance of psychological reactions over chosen values and contingencies in guiding action. Being inflexible may make them less adaptive to new challenges as they have difficulties in using personal resources, resulting in a higher risk of academic failure and far from their meaningful life. And the third one is perceived stress, which is a state occurring in response to events or demands that exceed an individual's perceived ability to cope. Rapid changes and needs amid the pandemic may heighten students' perceived stress levels, hence increasing risk for depression. And the fourth one is loneliness, which is the discrepancy between the desired quality of the relationship and actual experiences. Changes in how people interact during the pandemic may cause difficulties in creating close relationships, thus worsening students' feelings of loneliness. So for the method, I use online questionnaire, and the characteristic of our participant is Indonesian college students, which is local from local and overseas university, age between 18 until 40 years old, and the total participants was 941. For the measures, I collected socio-demographic data, and I use PSS-10 for perceived stress, ULS-3 for loneliness, AAQ-2 for psychological inflexibility, PHQ-9 for depression. And I did under analysis for descriptive statistics, correlation analysis, t-test and ANOVA, and moderation analysis. For the results, so for sociodemographic description, my data shows the age range was 18 until 39 years old. 74% of them were female. And they are from, and 67% of them are from local university, and 85% of them are single. For the educational level, there are 52% of them are undergraduate students, 43% are master, and 5% are PhD. I also found some factors that are associated with depression and PI, which is an age, marital status, previous MH records, education level, perceived impact of COVID-19, perceived income, and financial status. These associated variables were included as covariates in the moderation analysis. And the results is 43% students had a clinical symptom of depression, with the overall mean score shows around the moderate level of depression. And 59 or almost 60% students shows concerning psychological inflexibility level, a moderate level of perceived stress, and moderate level of loneliness, and a strong positive association was observed between psychological inflexibility, perceived stress, loneliness, and depression. For moderation analysis, the data shows that both models illustrated that psychological inflexibility positively intensify the effects of predators on depression, even after controlling the covariates. For the discussion, so the higher level of psychological inflexibility, the higher the impact of both predators on the severity of depression. Students with high PI may have tendency to have excessive control over their thoughts and emotions. It may worsen their negative experience during pandemic and increase the risk of developing a severe mental health problem in pandemic. These students may have difficulties in emotion or behavior regulation process, in which the primary characteristics of depression. And PI elevated the relationship between perceived stress and depression. Students with PI might fixate on their stressful experience and fail to comment on behavior that may be personally meaningful. And this approach may increase the odds of depression. Also, PI elevated the relationship between loneliness and depression, which high PI might widen the discrepancies between reality and desired relationship. And the PI may prolong their feelings of loneliness and then result in severe depression. I also found some additional information regarding socio-demographic data, which shows that the increase in age was associated with lower depression and PI. Previous mental health condition and final issues are associated with high depression and PI. Married with children associated with lower depression and PI, and undergraduates have higher depression and PI than the other educational level. However, current study couldn't ascertain the causal direction with correlational analysis, even though these factors should be considered. So my research have several limitations, which is the use of convenient sampling and the imbalance in the number of participants. The association could be bidirectional, as we cannot ascertain a causal relationship. And I use online surveys. This may prone to bias. And also I use more. And I think we need to have more. We need to use more comprehensive PI tools to identify more specifically dimension to intervene. The conclusion is the identification of psychological inflexibility as a motivatable mechanism to mitigate the effect of pandemic risk factors is key to prevent depression. The use of intervention targeting PI may help students to accept current pandemic difficulties and encourage them to take meaningful action in order to prevent the elevated risk of mental health problem and finish their study. Okay, that's all. Thank you for the attention. I'm sorry if my presentation got more than 7 minutes. Thank you. And I will stop my sharing.
Ms. Rapiani, thank you very much for your sharing. Give applause for you. And audience, you're welcome if you want to ask the presenter any questions now for Ms. Anissa. Okay.
I think there's a question in question box. Can I answer?
Okay. The psychological inflexibility variable is interesting. What is the main indicator of this variable? How could we know that someone is not flexible psychologically? Question from Ms. Ika Andri Farida. Okay, Ms. Anissa.
Yeah. Thank you for. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that. So yeah. There are many tools that we can actually assess about the psychological inflexibility. But the main indicator actually is there is 6 dimension, which is we can see from how they usually thought and how they usually have. Even the mindfulness itself is one of the indicator of psychological inflexibility. And then we also have the values in dimension, and then the committed action dimension, and then two of it is about well, you can say it's the cognitive diffusion, and then self as context. So there's actually specific dimension for it. So that's why if you want to know how someone has flexible psychological inflexibility, we need to assess by those tools, by those specific tools. Okay, is it? Hello. Thank you. Sorry, I think you
Miss
Hati still.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Anissa. Interesting research. I'm wondering why you choose perceived stress and loneliness as moderating variables, and why the others not the others variable, and how you validated all instruments you use in your research?
Okay. The moderating variables is actually psychological inflexibility. So the perceived stress and loneliness are the predators. And why I chose those two variables is because when I read about the articles before that what is the risk factors of depression during the pandemic, they say that the most significant one is stress and loneliness, especially loneliness. That's why I chose those two. And for the tools, sorry, Miss, I didn't really heard about the question for the second one.
The moderating variable is
You still get the
psychological flexibility or
yes,
perceived
yes.
stress
The
and
moderating
loneliness?
variable. Yes, the moderating variable is the
Okay.
psychological inflexibility.
Okay, basically according to the theory,
Yeah. According to the theory, the psychological inflexibility could moderate some many variables that could intensify the relationship the relationship between the mental health variables. That's why I chose this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Tatiani. And for the next turn, please, Ms. Selawati Putri and Ms. Dia Sulistiarini to present your paper. And with my pleasure, please welcome Ms. Saputri. The time is yours for Ms. Saputri.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hetty.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
So Ms. Dia Sulistiarini.
It's actually
Yeah.
Michela. Michela is the main researcher in this unit, but in the last minute, she said that she has to leave the meeting because she had this family urgent something. So
okay, please welcome Ms. Dia.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. Please allow me to share screen. The operator, may I?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, thank you. Okay, has my share screen appeared there?
Yes, clear.
Yes, it's clear.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So as I mentioned earlier, I have to present this presentation. In regard to Miss Ella also have the to leave the meeting because she had the family urgent. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So this afternoon, I will present our research about the relationship of self-forgiveness and meaning in life on early adulthood, self-harm, preparator, or we call it non-suicidal self-injury. Okay. So we initiating this research because we found that there are a lot of adolescent and early adulthood that had done some non-suicide NSI. So in short is in NSI there is non-suicidal self-injury. Sadly, it is like it's not a really rare phenomenon anymore because there's we also find surprising that it's not really hard to find. It's really not to find the people, especially in early adulthood or adolescence, that had done some injury to themselves. So in some previous researches, we found that the cause of the self injury is because there's some because they have some negative emotion, especially when they feel some shame, guilt, and because this is a burden feelings that they cannot open, they cannot express, and then they did the self-injury. So we found, so we have this assumption that maybe there's a correlation between self-forgiveness and how they interpret the meaning in life in their early adulthood. So this is maybe we have to aware first that this self-injury is usually not correlated with suicidal thought or any kind of suicidal ideation. It's just like they feel that they're satisfied after they did the self-injury. But in some research, it also said there, in some cases, it's also correlated in suicidal thoughts. So, but in this study, we make the boundaries where we only research that it's not including the suicidal thoughts. So in this research, in this study, self-forgiveness we define here is the process of it is the process of person how addressing themselves as responsible to the mistakes they have made, interpreting meaningfully all of their mistakes, and then successfully resolving negative consequences such as emotion, cognition, motivation, as well as self-blame behavior, leading to emotion, cognition, motivation, and behaviors that move in more positive emotion. So that's the definition that we used in our research. There are 4 components of the self-forgiveness process, which is responsibility, which is accepting responsibility for actions that have been taken and the effects of those actions, and then remorse. The second component is remorse, is a response to accepting responsibility. And then the third is restoration, is a behavior and commitment that are intended to restore values in individuals related to violation or mistakes that have been made. And then the last one, renewal, is a state on the process of refreshing negative emotion as a result of violation or mistakes that they have been made. In this research, there are 2 main dimensions of self-forgiveness, is such as accept that responsibility, and then the second one is enhancing the self-esteem, which is a process of forgiving oneself by involving the ability to admit features that have been experienced and felt. And then meaning in life itself, defined here as the way in which these individuals interpret and organize their experiences, achieve their own sense and value and place, identify what is important to them, and effectively direct their energies towards the belief that their life was important and then that will pass the present. So it can be seen that meaning in life is a process that interpreting life and experience, so that individuals feel in sense that they have meaning in life. It's not useless life. So that's the definition and how we starting the literature review that we starting the studies. And then the method that we use is we use quantitative research that aim to determine the correlation between those two variables. And then regarding to this pandemic, we only sadly we can only do the accidental sampling in gathering the data, and then we use the two scales, one to
Sorry,
measure the.
Alifa, please the next slide.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Sorry, Alifa.
Yeah. It's already image. Okay, and then so as the measuring self-forgiveness, we develop a scale based on the main dimension of self-forgiveness from Woodgate. And then to measure the meaning in life, we adapted the measuring in life questionnaire. So, and then the result is there is a significant correlation between those two variables in non-suicidal self-injury. So in this discussion, so it can be concluded that self-forgiveness can be a self-protective factor against the self-harm behavior. It can be the way to reduce the intensity of that behavior. So we found that the people the subject that do the self-injury, when they had the self-forgiveness, they feel less guilt in about their past mistake, and then also when they have self-forgiveness, they also have the meaning in life more appropriately, because when they have the meaning in life, they have feeling that their life was valuable, that it doesn't only determined by that only mistake that they have done, but they also have their any other meaning in their life, and it can prevent them to do the self-injury repeatedly. So maybe that's all that I can present. I'm very sorry for maybe there are some lag because in this presentation, but it's a nice topic to discuss. So I'm open to receive the question and discussion, please. Thank you, Ms. Hetty, for the
respect for Ms. Tia's research team with this effort. Interesting research, yeah, that chapter sensitive topic in positive psychology perspective, and what a tricky subject selection. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you do to select the subject and gathering data from them?
Yeah.
Without social disability.
Yeah. So this is the interesting thing actually, Miss Hetty. In the first when Miss Yala proposing this topic, actually I also have that doubt too in my mind. I mean, as you thought, would it be easy? Actually, we have to find a lot of people who do that. Will they commit to do that? But actually, as I mentioned before, it turned out there are a lot of our adolescents who had done it. It's not like something that is rare anymore. It's just like it's just they're also open to about it, and then it's not really difficult as we thought as before. It's actually as a researcher is something that good news for us, because we don't have to our worries is not really it's not really right in the reality, but as a community, as a society, it's really a sad phenomenon, I think, because our adolescent and our adulthood, and there are also a lot of students from college who did that. I mean, it's not so it there are a lot of various background in here, so it's not only who uneducated or whatever. It's also in educated society and so on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Fortunately, the subject feel the instrument frankly without faking good or faking bad.
yeah, I guess so.
Good research. Thank you, Miss
Yeah,
Dia.
thank you.
Okay, all right, participants, if you have questions for Miss Dia now, please ask your question directly to the Miss Dia now. Okay, not yet.
Okay.
Okay, let's please welcome for the next presenter. Yeah, for Miss Shahidah and Miss Ika Andrini Farida, presenting their research about the role of academic stress and spiritual intelligence on subjective well-being in students during the pandemic period. For Miss Shahidah or Miss Farida, welcome you to present your findings.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hetty.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Professor Dr. Fatah Hanurawan, MS, Magister of Science, Magister of Education, as a Dean of Psychology, State University of Malang, respectable Dr. Nur Eva, SPSI, Magister of Psychology, as a Head Program of Psychology Department, State University of Malang, respectable Dr. Ika Andrini Farida, as advisor and second author. I'm Farah Al-Shaidah. Today, I'm going to give a short presentation on international conference. I bring the important topic, so I hope we will discuss in this forum. My presentation is divided into 5 main sections. To begin with, introduction, in addition, literature review, furthermore, method, result, and discussion, and last, we will talk about conclusion. So let's go to introduction. Okay, in this section, I will divide it into 4 points. So the first point, we will talk about introduction. In this section, we will explain the reason why I choose this research. And secondly, we want to talk about formulation of the problem. And thirdly, we want to talk about the aim of the research. And the third, we want to talk about research novelty. So let's talk about the first point. So the reason why I choose this topic is because this topic is very rare. We know that pandemic happened in 100 years once. So this is problem 2. When we talk about subjective well-being, we know that in Cooper research in 2020 said that subjective well-being in college students in German during pandemic period in range March until May decrease, and it also occurs in Indonesia. Visa in 2020 said that subjective well-being in college students during pandemic increased too. So the formulation of the problem, the first we wanna know or to determine about the role of academic stress on subjective well-being on students during pandemic. The second, we want to know about the role of spiritual intelligence on subjective well-being during pandemic. And the third, to determine about the role of academic stress and spiritual intelligence on subjective well-being during pandemic period. Meanwhile, the aim of the research to determine about the role of academic stress on subjective well-being. Secondly, to determine about spiritual intelligence on subjective well-being. And the third, to determine about academic stress and spiritual intelligence on subjective well-being. So about research novelty, we know that in this research, we have 3 variables. which is in the last research, is just 2 variables. So it's very new in this research. Let's move into literature review. So in this section, we will talk about the definition, aspect, and factors of each variables. So let's move into definition of subjective well-being variable. According to Dinner in 1997, subjective well-being itself is often interpreted as a multi-dimensional construct that has 2 components, namely positive and negative effect. Meanwhile, the aspect, cognitive and affective, and the factors, emotion, temperament, personality, cognitive, social, and culture. So let's move into second variable, subjective spiritual quotient or spiritual intelligence. Is the ability to solve problems of meaning and value. Meanwhile, the aspect, ability to be flexible, high self-awareness, ability to face suffering, ability to deal with pain. Meanwhile, the factors, brain, nerve cells, and gut spot. And the last variable, we want to talk about the definition, aspect, and factors too. So academic stress is a condition where students cannot face academic demand and perceive academic demands that are accepted as distraction. Meanwhile, the aspect is biological and biosocial and factors, internal and external factors. So let's move into method. In the population ensemble, the population of this study is all female and female in college students in Malang City. Then sample is undergraduate students on 2020, batch on at public university in Malang. Then sample election because this batch of students is new students who only entered college during pandemic. Meanwhile, the research instrument, we have 3 research instruments. There are, the first instrument is subjective well-being instrument, who developed by Akhtar in 2019. Akhtar 2019 tried to develop from Dinner in 1997. Second research instrument is academic stress scale. It's adapted from Wicaksana in 2017. Wicaksana 2017 adapted from Zabram and in 2008. Then the third scale is spiritual intelligence scale. It is developed by Fitri in 2019. Then Fitri adapted from Amram in 2003. So we move into data analysis. In data analysis, we use regression. Let's move into next page. In this section, we will talk about result and discussion. So the result of this research is the hypothesis is accepted when we see in this table. We know that score of significancy academic stress is 0.007, less than 0.05. Then significancy score in spiritual intelligence 0.000, less than 0.05. Then for third hypothesis is accepted too, because significancy score of ANOVA is 0.000, less than 0.05. Meanwhile, the score of adjusted square is 0.388, 6. That means the role of academic stress and spiritual indulgence is low on subjective well-being. Okay, let's move into discussion. I'm sorry, I cannot write the discussion in this PowerPoint because it's very limited, yes, just 10 slides. So about the discussion, it consistent with past research, namely academic stress contribute to students' subjective well-being. This evidenced by research. The researcher assumed that hypothesis academic stress would correlate with subjective well-being, both high and low, based on previous research. And this has happened also in the role of spiritual indulgence and subjective well-being. In the results by concurrent with the previous studies and in Zaheba Zamani et al. 2030 reversed that there was a significant relationship between spiritual indulgence and psychological well-being. And this is also Yulianto and Indarto talked to that conducted a study at Muhammadiyah boarding school talk that showed that spiritual intelligence had a positive impact on subjective well-being. And the last about the role of academic stress, spiritual intelligence, and subjective well-being. Meanwhile, the research conducted by Haryanto and Sri in 2011 said so. Okay, and the last point, we want to talk about acknowledge funding. So also would like thank you for the people who contribute preparing this paper. Thank you for my advisor, Dr. Ikandri Farida, and then who have helped a lot in this preparing this paper. Thank you to Psychology Department, State University of Malang, and BNPB who contribute to fund this research. So I think this is enough for my presentation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. What an interesting topic, Miss Sahidah, ya. And please, audience, please welcome if you want to ask the presenter some questions now. Not yet. And I remind for you, please all presenters check message from ICOPC committee in the chat menu beside this box. Yeah, in the chat menu. Please fill in the presence link as of database issues, certificates. Please ensure that data entered is correct. And the bit.ly link, click. And you can choose the participant status according to the session you are participating in this session. Thank you. Okay, please to check in the menu, chat menu. And now moving along to the next presenter, please welcome to Mr. Muhammad Hamami, Mr. Gefal Galan Abdul Aziz, and Mr. Muhammad Said as a team to present your research journey about stress and internet addiction during the COVID-19 pandemic, correlation studies on college students. Okay, Mr. Hamami and team, still here now?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, yeah. Mr. Hamami, the time is yours.
We are very sorry before Miss Nettie. We didn't prepare it in English. Could we use Bahasa to present our PowerPoint?
Okay, Alifa, would you please to help?
Is it clear, Miss? Excuse me.
Okay, clear. Thank you, Alifa.
I'm sorry, Miss.
Are you Mr. Hamami or another author?
Yes, I am Mr. Hamami. Miss.
Okay, because your name is
Oh yeah,
Nabil,
oh yeah,
not
I'm sorry, Miss.
Hamami. Okay,
Before
okay.
we start,
You are welcome.
before we start, can we use bahasa
Okay.
to present our paper, Miss? We
No
didn't prepare in
problem.
English before. Okay,
Okay, no
thank you.
problem. Please, you are welcome, Mr. Hamami.
Jadi saya izin ya menggunakan bahasa Indonesia. Jadi perintahan kami di sini, kami izin mempresentasikan artikel kami yang berjudul Stress dan Internet Addiction, Stress and Internet Addiction during the COVID-19 pandemic, Correlational Studies in College Student, atau hubungan, ya kami ingin mencari tahu hubungan korelasional antara stres dan adiksi internet selama pandemi pada sampel mahasiswa. Ada saya sendiri, Muhammad Hamami, kemudian ada teman saya, Gefat Garan Abdul Aziz, dan dosen pendamping kami, Muhammad Said, SPSI, MSI. Next slide, please. Jadi ini sebagaimana Bapak, Ibu, dan kakak-kakak yang sudah menjalani skripsi ya, selama pembelajaran online ini mungkin dari kakak-kakak dan Bapak Ibu sekalian lebih merasa, oh selama pembelajaran online ini saya lebih berkembang gitu ya, saya lebih banyak soft skill yang saya dapati selama pembelajaran online ini, atau merasa sebaliknya gitu ya, selama pembelajaran online ini lebih merasa tertekan gitu ya, lebih merasa terbebani dan apa yang dipelajari itu kurang gitu ya. Nah, kalau yang sudah kami dapati, yang sudah saya dan Devat amati dari mahasiswa semester 5 gitu ya, kebanyakan teman-teman dan kawan-kawan kami itu mereka merasa bahwa pembelajaran online ini mereka lebih merasa stres gitu ya. Mereka merasa stres dan apa yang mereka dapat itu, materi yang mereka dapat itu kurang gitu. Nah, untuk mendukung pengamatan kami, untuk mendukung apa yang sudah kami amati tadi, ada beberapa penelitian yang juga mendapatkan hasil yang sama. Jadi siswa, kemudian orang tua dan guru itu mereka juga merasa stres itu selama pembelajaran pandemi. Nah, untuk dampaknya itu apa sih? Nah, untuk dampaknya di sini untuk subjek mahasiswa, yang pertama ada kurangnya kualitas tidur. Kemudian mereka itu lebih mudah cemas dan takut, sering merasa sakit kepala, dan buruknya manajemen waktu. Ini beberapa gejala stres yang sudah kami dapati pada subjek ataupun sampel mahasiswa. Nah, gimana cara mengatasinya? Jadi tentu dengan menggunakan media sosial. Mungkin bisa lanjut. Nah, mengapa kami berani mengatakan bahwa coping yang digunakan mahasiswanya adalah media sosial? Jadi yang pertama ada data dari Data Reporter 2021 itu mengatakan bahwa kelompok usia 18 sampai 24 itu merupakan pengguna gadget terbesar di Indonesia, berada satu tingkat di bawah kelompok usia 25 dan 34. Kemudian hasil yang sama dari survei yang sama itu dari APJJI, Asosiasi Penyelenggara Jaringan Internet Indonesia, itu kelompok usia 20 sampai 24 merupakan pengguna internet terbesar di Indonesia. Nah, bagaimana bisa kelompok usia ini itu mereka menjadi kelompok tertinggi gitu ya dalam penggunaan internet? Jadi yang pertama mereka tuh merasa kesepian dan juga mereka merasa fear of missing out dengan keadaan selama pandemi. Kemudian alasan-alasan berikutnya mengapa mereka menggunakan media sosial, itu yang pertama untuk menyelesaikan masalah, baik itu masalah pribadi dan juga masalah tugas gitu ya, dan juga untuk mengentertain themselves, untuk menghibur diri dan membangun interaksi sosial. Mungkin bisa next slide. Nah, satu hal yang harus diketahui bahwa penggunaan media sosial yang lebih gitu ya, yang lebih dari 6 jam itu menurut penelitian Gunawan dan kawan-kawan itu dapat berkontribusi dalam munculnya gangguan adiksi internet. Nah, adiksi internet ini memiliki beberapa istilah, beberapa nama. Ada yang menyebutnya problematic internet use, ada yang menyebutnya internet dependency, dan juga ada yang menyebutnya compulsive internet use, dan juga mungkin ada beberapa istilah lain yang sebenarnya itu merujuk pada addictive behavior terhadap penggunaan gadget pada periode atau jangka waktu yang lama. Next slide. Nah, untuk membandingkan gitu ya, penelitian yang sudah kami lakukan, lakukan gitu ya dengan penelitian terdahulu, karena memang ada beberapa penelitian yang sama yang membahas variabel stres dan internet addiction. Namun dari keenam ini bisa Bapak Ibu dan teman-teman lihat, mereka itu memiliki subjek yang berbeda-beda. Keenam ini juga memiliki subjek yang beda dengan yang kami pilih. Subjek yang kami pilih di sini adalah kelompok usia 18 sampai 23, dan subjeknya itu adalah mahasiswa Universitas Negeri Malang. Kemudian yang menjadi pembeda dengan yang kami lakukan adalah penggunaan dari alat ukur stres. Kalau yang kami gunakan di sini adalah PSS C10 Perceived Stress Scale yang dikhususkan buat pandemi, sedangkan keenam ini ada yang menggunakan DAS dan juga ada yang menggunakan PSS biasa. Next slide. Nah, tujuan dari penelitian ini sebenarnya sudah tadi saya sampaikan di awal, untuk mengetahui apakah ada hubungan antara stres dan juga adiksi internet selama pandemi terhadap subjek mahasiswa. Alat ukur yang kami gunakan di sini ada PSS, the Modified Perceived Stress Scale 10 for COVID-19, atau PSS-10C, dan juga ada Internet Addiction Test atau IAT. Nah, untuk partisipannya, ini kami sudah mengumpulkan 81 partisipan dari Universitas Negeri Malang dengan rentang usia 18 sampai 30. Ini untuk validitas dan reliabilitas ini kami menggunakan dari penelitian lain, jadi kami translate begitu ya PSS-nya dan juga IAT-nya dari penelitian dari ini Arias dan Kester. Nah, berikutnya mungkin akan dijelaskan oleh teman saya gitu.
Wrap it up. Time is up. Mr. Hamami, please go to the last slide. If you, yeah.
Ya, Mr. Gefat.
Okay, another presenter from this team to present the last point, result and discussion. Mr. Gefald or Mr. Hamami, continuing the slide.
Mr. Gefald, di mana Mr. Gefald?
Please go to the last slide for continuing the presenting.
Oh ya, baik, mungkin saya lanjutkan saja.
Please wrap up.
Oh ya, mungkin langsung di ini ya, di conclusion saja.
Iya.
Biar cepat. Nah, ini yang sudah kami dapat. Jadi dengan alat ukur yang sudah saya sampaikan di awal, ada 2 tadi, kami mendapati bahwa penyebab stres yang pertama adalah social distancing, kemudian kurangnya mobilitas, kurangnya pergerakan dari mahasiswa-mahasiswa ini, terus ada berita-berita dari sosial media yang mungkin hoax gitu ya. Terus yang keempat ada tugas dari perkuliahan dan juga organisasi, terus butuhnya uang dan juga pekerjaan. Yang keenam itu ada overthinking dengan keadaan mereka nanti ke depannya seperti apa. Terus untuk ketujuh adalah kurangnya manajemen waktu dan sering prokras, dan yang terakhir mereka itu lebih sering diganggu seperti itu. Itu penyebab stres pada mahasiswa. Kemudian mayoritas subjek yang sudah kami ujikan itu mereka memiliki stres di level moderat, jumlahnya itu sekitar 56. Kemudian untuk subjek berikutnya, subjek yang yang berjumlah 24 itu memiliki level stres yang sedang. Kemudian dalam penelitian ini didapati bahwa lama waktu durasi teman-teman mahasiswa dalam mengakses media sosial itu berjumlah lebih dari 10 jam itu pada 15 partisipan, kemudian 6 sampai 10 untuk 34 partisipan lainnya. Terus untuk dari yang sudah kami jelaskan dapat disimpulkan bahwa internet addiction, stres ini berdampak sebesar 33% ya, atau 0,33 kalau koefisien korelasinya, sedangkan 66% lainnya itu disebabkan dari hal lain ya, bisa depresi ataupun mungkin dari variabel lainnya. Jadi dapat disimpulkan bahwa stres dan internet addiction ini ada hubungannya namun masih lemah. Seperti itu mungkin dari kami. Mohon maaf atas bahasa Indonesianya dan mungkin tadi ada kendala jaringan. Saya kembalikan ke Miss Hetty.
Okay, please applause for Mr. Hamami and team. Even though you can't convey the paper in English at this time, it still makes you and your friends excited to do research, yeah? Okay, I hope you and your team can present your paper and interesting another paper fluently in English for the next time. Okay, Mr. Hamami and team. Audience, now welcome to ask questions for Mr. Hamami and team if you have any questions. Not yet? Okay, last but not least, let's please welcome our last presenter, Ms. Ike Dwi Astuti, Ms. Wiwin Hendriani, and Ms. Fitri Andriani. Okay, Ms. Dwi Astuti and team, please share us your interesting research about the role of academic resilience in college student academic performance during the COVID-19 pandemic. Bu Ike, monggo.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ike Dwi Astuti. I'm the scholar of psychology from Airlangga University. I'm delighted to be here today to talk to you about my initial research, the role of academic resilience on academic performance in college students during the COVID-19 pandemic. Next, I will begin with give you some background information about this topic. The students face more challenge and competition at higher education level, specifically at college students. This challenge occur in the academic and non-academic fields, and these days the challenge increased during the pandemic. Impact in educations are they have difficulty paying the tuition fee, the significant change in learning methods, and they experience various obstacles related to online learning. They need to have the capacity to mitigate the consequences of problems. Previous research has proven that academic resilience is the protective factor for adversity. Next, based on researcher, yes, that background led me to my purpose of this study. First, to explore the risk factor and protective factors that affect academic resilience during the pandemic. Second, To prove the effect of academic resilience capacity based on academic resilience outcomes based. Third, to prove an effect of academic resilience capacity on academic performance. Next. Based on researcher, academic resilience has several different definitions. Martin and Mars define academic resilience as a student's capacity to cope with acute or chronic problems that are considered to be the main disturbance in the student's educational process. That definition is followed by Cassidy. Some researchers define academic resilience as an outcome. The other definition of academic resilience is to emphasize a process of dealing with high-risk situation. To put it more simply, academic resilience is the student's capacity to persist and develop to obtain excellent academic achievement outcomes, even though they face high-risk factors. Next, I'll be describe about the method. This research used quantitative research. A cross-sectional study using an online survey was conducted to assess college students' academic resilience and socio-demographic information. The instruments are Academic Resilience Scale Indonesian version, personal data form include GPA self-report. The participants are active college students at Universitas Negeri Malang 4th and 6th semester. Use convenience technique sampling, and the analysis will be divided into several statistical techniques. And next, our data show there are 221 participants. From this table, we know that the majority of students have problems during the pandemic. There are academic problems, 37.3%, economic problem, 21.2%, problem with family, 13.4%. They were also assessed subjectively about the protective factor that influence student success in academic. There are self-effort, 36.9%, self-ability, 24.7%, friends help, 15.7%. Next. In logistic regression analysis shows that students with higher academic resilience capacity will have a 1.73 time chance of being able to maintain and increase their GPA semester. The majority of students have increased GPA. Next. The results of statistical regression analysis show that academic resilience capacity had a positive effect of academic performance. The higher the academic resilience capacity, the higher the academic performance. Academic resilience provides a variation of 4.6% of academic performance. And the majority of students have average GPA. Next. Based on our finding, this study has implication. The result of this study can be used as a basis for policymakers to make learning methods that can increase students' academic resilience, to encourage lecturers to make effective online learning, to encourage students to increase academic resilience, such as keep perseverance manage emotional response, and evaluate their studies method. And for the research, measurement of risk factor and protective factor is expected to use objective instrument, not only based on students' subjective perception. Next. That's all I have to present. That brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Sorry, Miss. The mic is unmute. Miss Hetty.
Sorry. Oke, baiklah. Thank you for a great presentation, Miss Ike Dwi Astuti.
Thank you.
And now, if all of you have any questions, please ask her for Miss Ike for sure. Okay. I remind you to fill the presence blank that insert in chat menu. Sudah ya? Sudah diklik ya? Baik. This is in time, dear honorable participants. At the end of this session, let me conclude about this session that prospective studies of psychological well-being and topic in physical activities too may give us scientific recommendation for its coping during disruptive time. And I apologize if there are shortcomings and any limitation in guiding this event. Thank you for Alifa for being here hosting this session. Thank you for honorable presenters, Ibu Anissa, Bapak Anam, Ibu Diah, Ibu Syahidah, Bapak Hamami, Ibu Ike, Dwi Astuti, dan masing-masing dengan tim penelitian mereka. And I really appreciate for your attending this session, and my all condition will be better. See you again in the upcoming events. Stay safe and keep healthy. Have a nice day, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before we end the session, let's take a picture first. Yeah. For
Okay.
ending this, and please do turn on the camera.
Happy face.
Okay. Okay. I start the counting. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Last one. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Thank you,
very much.
everyone.
Thank you.
See you in the next upcoming event.
Thank you very much.
Makasih Alifa.
Sami-sami Bu Eti.